The Boston Celtics have now spent the last few years being one of the best teams in the NBA and making it to the finals 2 years ago and the conference finals just last year, and they were very, very close to making it to the finals last year, as they lost in 7 games, almost being the first team to ever come back from down 3-0. But despite being probably the most talent-filled roster in the NBA, they have still yet to win the NBA finals since they've added Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as their big two duo going forward, and they have spent this offseason even trying to pack a punch this team even a little bit more and getting better and better, as they now spent the offseason getting Kristaps Porzingis in a trade where they now formed a legitimate big three of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis, and I think that big three has potential to maybe be one of the best in the NBA and should be enough to get them over the hump. But the dangerous side of doing what they have done is it now leaves them with zero excuses. Jason Tatum no longer has an excuse. The only excuse they had was the fact that they didn't have a big three, they only had a big two, and the rest were just really high quality role players. But now they legitimately have 3 stars on this team, and they still have tons of depth and great role players on this roster, so if they're not able to get it done this year, they probably will never be able to get it done, assuming the team stays healthy. Because let's really just break down this big three. You have Jason Tatum, who's an MVP candidate level player, one of the best small forwards in the entire NBA, and just one of the best players in general in the entire NBA. He proved that last year. He was an absolute beast. Then you have Jaylen Brown, who's a top 5 shooting guard in the entire NBA and is still very solid. Now, yes, his dribbling and ball handling kind of gets exposed in the playoffs, but he is still a very high quality player and high level player to have, and he is legitimately an all-star level player in the NBA. And now they added Kristaps Porzingis, who is coming off the best year of his career and is one of the best shot blocking, floor spacing centers in the entire NBA, and is just all around an extremely good player. And then on top of that very good big three they've constructed, they still debatably have the best roster in the entire NBA, as they still have a starting 5 that's going to look like this: Malcolm Brogdon, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis, which would probably form the best floor spacing lineup in the entire NBA history, almost. Now, yes, the Warriors obviously probably have that title, but one of the best floor spacing lineups in NBA history, because look at this. You have Malcolm Brogdon, who legitimately can get a bucket whenever you need him to. He's a very high-level offensive player. Jaylen Brown, obviously he can get a bucket and he's a great shooter. Jason Tatum, I don't even have to talk about him. Obviously he can go get a bucket when you need him to. Al Horford is a very high quality 3-point shooter for a big who will now be playing power forward, and Kristaps Porzingis is one of the best centers that can shoot the 3 in the entire NBA. So there should be no issues with Jason Tatum having to get a shot, because you can't double team anyone on this lineup, because if you double team someone, anyone on this starting lineup can kill you literally at any time they want, and that's just how high level offensive lineup this is going to be. And then on top of that, they're not sacrificing anything. They still have tons of height, probably more than most teams, because now Al Horford and Porzingis are on the same starting lineup, and those are 2 big players who can get boards, block shots, and do all the things you need a big to do, on top of being able to space the floor, which is extremely valuable. And on top of that, even their guard situation, all that is perfectly fine, and they basically sacrifice nothing to add floor spacing, which is extremely important in today's NBA. And then now, even outside of that starting 5, they have a extremely impressive bench still, as they have Derek White, who is a great 2-way player and is going to be in 6th man of the year conversations once again going into next year, assuming he stays healthy. He's one of the most underrated guards in the entire NBA, and he is a huge piece to this Boston Celtics team, and with that being your 6th man is very impressive. And then you still have Robert Williams, who's an athletic beast and always going to be a huge type of clutch type player. And now, yes, he's not going to be scoring you the most, but he's a great defender, an excellent defender at that. And we saw when he got injured last year in the playoffs, the Celtics struggled immensely to replace him. That's how valuable he is to this team, and that is their 7th man off of the bench. And then on top of that, you still have guys like Peyton Pritchard, who's going to be probably your 8th man, who's still a very high level offensive player and a great shooter. Then you also have Sam Hauser, who had a great rookie season. They also drafted Jordan Walsh, who's looked fairly good in the summer league, and they don't need him to score, they just need him to play defense, and Jordan Walsh can 100% play defense for you. you. So they really have just made great move after great move this offseason, and I think for sure this team is in prime position once again to win the Eastern Conference. But if they can't do it this year, they're probably never going to do it, and this is make or break time for Jason Tatum's legacy almost. Like, you have to win if you're Jason Tatum this season. There's no more losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. There's no more Miami Heat just out of nowhere beating you, okay? You have to at least make the finals and win the finals if you're Jason Tatum and you want to be considered one of the all-time greats when your career is said and done, especially with a roster that is this good, because you're probably never going to play with a roster this stacked, this talented ever again in your entire career. And really, just overall to recap everything I said, I think the Celtics should be the favorites to win the finals going into next year. I think they have the best roster in the NBA. They have one of the best big threes in the NBA, obviously assuming they stay healthy, and I just don't think Jason Tatum should get any more leeway. If this team can stay healthy all year, at least for the most part, they should win the finals, and he should be bad. If they don't win the finals, and if they get upset before even making the finals, Jason Tatum deserves way more backlash than he has gotten, because the past 2 years, you can make the excuse. The first year, they lost in the finals to the Warriors. The Warriors are one of the best teams ever made. They are a dynasty, so okay, that's going to be a hard win no matter what, and he's still young. Last year, Miami Heat were on fire, no pun intended. They were extremely good, and they still almost came back from 3-0. They competed. But if they lose this year, with a more talented roster, with a third star, and just an overall great team again, it's time to start asking of Jason Tatum, how good is he actually? Because if he can't win with this roster, he is not going to be able to win with any roster. And I just think it's time to start kind of bringing that into question if they aren't able to win the finals, but I think they should be able to get it done with this team. But unfortunately, guys, that's going to be it for this video. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Boston Celtics have to win this year? Do you think they're done with the excuses? What do you think they should do? Do you think they have a great team? What are your thoughts in the comment section below? If you like the point, hit the like button and subscribe button. I mean the absolute roar to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. Because I have a blessed day. So you need a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah, blah, blah.